Hey friends, Cami here with Our Valley History. As you know, we make history every day. Hey everybody, on Our Valley History today we're going to be doing the very first of 2023 Fields of Fresno Ag Tour. We're heading to Simonian Farms, we're going to hit the Blossom Trail, and then we're going to go to Kings River Winery. It's kind of a little tongue twister, huh? So stay with us. We're on the bus right now, we're doing some Ag Tour trivia, and we're just having a great time. Hey friends, so we're just now getting off the bus. We're here at Simonian Farms. If you haven't been out here, you're definitely going to have to come check it out. We are going to come right over here to this monument, and we're going to be talking with the Fresno County Historical Society President, Elizabeth Laval, about Japanese internment here in the valley. So let's go check it out.
That excluded from the West Coast all people of Japanese descent, even if they were born in America. It was about 120,000 people. They were given just days and weeks to gather their belongings and report to one of the, what they called assembly centers. And who can guess some of the assembly centers in Fresno County? Yes. Pinedale was an assembly center, yeah. The Fresno Fairgrounds were assembly centers. So just where everyone had just had so much fun in October of 41, those stalls where you went and saw the animals were where the people were living. And it was from May of 1942 until October of 42, and then they moved everybody east into these tar paper barracks that were in as far away as Jerome, Arkansas, which is where we went. So what you're looking at today is Simonian. Mr. Simonian was a child when this was all happening, and he was growing up around the Japanese farmers. The Japanese people had been here in America, in the valley, for 40 or 50 years really, and they did face a lot of discrimination, but they were wonderful farmers, they were great business people, they were good neighbors, and so most of the Japanese Americans who got sent to camp lost everything. Their home, they could only take what they could carry. So you didn't get to take a mattress. You stuffed straw in your mattress when you got there. You didn't get to take your pets. You didn't get to take your family photos. You didn't get to take anything. And your land was gone. Unless you had some rock and roll neighbors. And we did have that here. In this area particularly, a lot of neighbors, mainly Italians, took their neighbors' farms over, harvested, put the money away, and when they were released from camp in 1945, they came back to working farms. And Mr. Simonian had learned from some of these Japanese farmers. So he went to Poston, Arizona, which was one of the actual camps, and he brought back the wood and he just designed this monument because he felt such a brothership, a kinship with all of the folks from the Japanese community. Now let's be honest, most people lost everything. They were not welcomed back most of the time. They were sent all over the country looking for work, but it was really hard. And so we celebrate in our films the honor and duty and spirit of these folks who believed that their country would never betray them in this way. Now, we have to point out that while there were several places that did incarcerate Italian Americans, General DeWitt, the head of this program, said, "You can't tell a good job from a bad job, so let's put them all away." It's written. And so you can't tell a good Italian from a bad Italian. You can't tell a German from a Swede sometimes. So they didn't try, except for prisoners of war. They did capture. So the other camps in our valley were in Merced. They were also in Tulare. The Tulare Fairgrounds became a German prisoner of war camp. But that's kind of the overview of what happened. But believe me, those people's lives were changed forever.
How do you recognize the almond blossom? That's question number 26. And hint, hint, we're in front of the almond blossom.
So what's going on right now with all this rain? It's probably one of the hardest times for farmers to have rain. Now, it's not to say we don't want it, but it's one of the hardest times, and that's really because of this bloom. Rain adds a lot of moisture, and that creates a real potential for disease problems. Particularly with the almonds right now, they're fully out. The stone fruit is fully out, meaning the bloom is mostly all the way open. And once it opens up, it becomes much more susceptible to diseases and fungus related to rain. So once this rain passes, for those of you that live in the country or those of you who live near the country, you're going to probably see a lot of activity out in the orchard. As soon as it's dry enough, they'll be out there with their sprayers trying to get not necessarily pesticides but fungicides out in order to protect as fast as they can right after this rain. The ones that are really smart got their fungicides on before the rain. In that way, you can protect against that disease potential. And so, let's talk a little bit right now. And then we can go in and look at, and then I'll have you look at the flowers and see if you can identify them on the flowers. But let's look at these. This is an almond bloom, and you can see the different parts. And it's really the discussion down to the heart of the birds and the bees. This is where it all comes from.
So you're going to explain the birds and the bees?
It will explain the birds and the
Right.
bees. Yes, finally. Yes, everyone will finally. So you have in here the different portions of the bloom. Now, almonds, it takes two different varieties in order for you to get an almond nut to fertilize. Other crops may be self-fertile, which means you can have the same variety and it'll pollinate itself. What happens is you have, in the middle, you have what is called the stigma. That's the female portion. And then on the outside, you have the filament and the filament, and then I used to call it the style, but it's all the way out there. It's on the outside edge. You see a blow up of it here where it has the pollen in it. So what happens is the bees come into the flower, and as they're going for the nectar, which is located down at the bottom, that's listed as nectary, the bees will go in there to get that nectar. While they're in the nectar, they'll start to get that pollen attached to them because bees are pretty furry. They can also move around and they'll start buzzing trying to get in there. and that motion will put the pollen on them. As the bee moves to the next flower, it'll go, let's hopefully, to the next variety at some point, and some of the pollen from the variety that was just on previous will then stick to the top of that stigma, which is usually very sticky. And so that's how it starts the fertilization process. Once it gets that pollen on there, the pollen will then grow a tube all the way down. The real art of it is once that pollen grows that tube down there, fertilizes that area of the flower, that's where your nut comes from. And the nut is actually that portion down there. And that's really what's going on with bloom. Now, as I said, with almonds, most almonds, you have to have 2 different varieties to make it work. It's the same variety. The most popular, the kind that you eat in the store, is nonpareil. If all I had was a nonpareil variety, I'd never get any nuts. So you have to have a separate variety. Then a lot of other crops, peaches included, they don't necessarily need to have that. They can fertilize themselves. They don't necessarily need bees. Just the wind motion will blow that pollen around, and it'll start to fertilize. But with almonds, you need the bees, you need them to move around, and there's a lot of other crops is how those bees work within the greater circle of life out here in the orchard. So why don't we real quick, everyone kind of take a look, see, you can take a look at some of these flowers. They're going to be a little bit puny because of all the rain, but see if you can identify the different portions in that flower. This was the original horse barn that they used to prepare the draft horses that would then go out and work in the field. In the morning, they'd open up that door on the far side. The horses would come in, they'd put them here, give them some feed, take off all of their harnesses, make sure the horses are healthy, and then turn them out and work in the fields.
The reason we call it Kings River Winery is because nearby, about 1.5 miles east of here, there's a river, and that's the Kings River. And I don't know how familiar you are with this area, but really there's only a couple of rivers in this area. One is the Kings, and the other one is the San Joaquin River, which kind of goes through part of Fresno, and it's the border between Fresno County and Madera County. And all the rivers up and down the valley flow into the San Joaquin River. And the San Joaquin River is the main drain for the valley that takes it out to the delta, and it combines with the American rivers and other rivers, including the Sacramento River, and it flows all into the San Francisco Bay. So when you see these ads that show you're pouring oil or something down the drain, it really does eventually combine with all the rivers and comes out in the San Francisco Bay.
Alrighty, friends, well, we're wrapping up our first ag tour of 2023 here at Kings River Winery. We had a great time learning about the different types of wines that they make, how they make them, different irrigation issues that we have here in the valley when it comes to farming and wineries. It's been such an amazing day. Ryan and I had so much fun. We're so happy to share this with you. We've even taken something home. So thank you for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you for our next episode of Our Valley History. where we make history every day.